And by the way, we've already had press queries from a gas digest in Nebraska who saw a Reuters story, so I guess this is spreading far and fast. Yay! Right. Yay! Right. It's pretty exciting. All right. Dryden Group and allies celebrate New York State Appeals Court win. The people of Dryden and a few other people are jubilant that New York's highest court has ruled that towns and villages statewide have the right to ban fracking. Okay. All right. Democracy works best when people interact with the government at the local level. While the state and federal governments may not be willing or able to protect us from serious dangers, the most secure power for that protection often lies at the local level. In New York and other states, the right of home rule, including zoning ordinances that grow from that right, has, as proclaimed at the state level, long provided the means for that protection. Many recognize the importance of this case. For New York State, the United States, and concerned citizens around the globe, this ruling clarifies the ancient right of local residents to make the decisions about the livability of their homes and communities. Local communities everywhere should take heart from Dryden's win. A small group can assert this right, encourage others to join them, take small first steps, get advice and help from people who have walked this road, and persevere toward victory. Local citizens and local elected officials in New York State need no longer doubt whether they have the power to protect the locality. Indeed, as Dryden has demonstrated, they may be the only ones with the ability to provide that protection. This ruling reinforces our right to locally protect our air, land, water, and communities. Dryden resident and DRAC member Martha Ferger expresses it well. This all started with house-to-house work in the dead of winter 2011, gathering signatures on a petition to our town board for a ban on fracking. We could not be more thrilled with this decision, and we thank Earth Justice especially for legal help with all three levels of court cases that have challenged our ban. Around the world, vocal activists and quiet residents alike have awaited this ruling. A member of the Frack Free Lancashire group sent us this message. That's in Northern England. Solidarity with the people of the USA and the world who are having to stand up to this industry. Another friend calls out across the pond, respect to all of the towns and counties that have gone it alone and banned it. If and when New York State bans fracking, it will be a game changer for us. A state like New York in the home nation of fracking would be a different ball game. So our goal is a statewide ban because, I got to it. Our goal is a statewide ban because fracking and associated industrial activities cannot be done safely. Yes. In New York, gutsy and smart people were not intimidated by energy industry tactics, notably two indomitable lawyers, Helen and David Slotchie. They researched and shared for free with everyone the legal and constitutional bases for a fracking ban ordinance. And now, the constitutional right to make land use decisions locally has held all the way up to the highest court of New York. We thank Deborah Goldberg, managing attorney of Earth Justice, for representing Dryden pro bono in the appeals cases against us. She took on the adversary with matchless preparation and legal skill and won. We thank Dryden Town Supervisor Marianne Sumner and all members of the Dryden Town Board who stood strong. Jason Leifer, Dryden Town Board member who first sounded the alarm about fracking in Dryden, says, "Today's ruling shows all of America that a committed group of citizens and public officials can stand together against fearful odds and successfully defend their homes, their way of life, and the environment against those who would harm them all in the name of profit." Wrapping up here, thank you to all our friends and neighbors who have moved forward together with us in this process. Thank you to the town boards across New York State who heeded the slotchies and passed bans and moratoria, and to those who will be empowered by this ruling to act. But we must stay vigilant because this is a fight forever, as you all know, in many different forms. Okay, thank you very much. Hot out there. Our first speaker is Jason Leifer, Deputy Supervisor, Dryden Town Board. And Jason alerted us all about this quite a long time ago and got us started.
Thank you. Thank you, Hillary. So today is a great victory for the people of Dryden and the people of New York. Now people all over the state know that they and not the natural gas industry hold the power in their communities. It took 4 long years to get here. In Dryden, it started with Sue McManus and her neighbors known as the Bone Playing Group, who I first met in 2009. They later became DRAC. Over the years, DRAC has worked tirelessly in Dryden to educate the people, the town board, and all others who were willing to listen on the issues related to gas drilling. The ban and the legal theory behind it moved into high gear in 2010 when Helen and David Slotchie started researching the legal framework so that municipal leaders could have a legal basis to resist the repeated threats of industry lawsuits. After the board banned gas drilling in Dryden in 2011, we had a contentious local election where the primary issue was the ban. We won the political battle, and the industry's last hope was in the courts. Now we have won on that front too, and the people of Dryden and the people of New York can rest easy knowing that the future of their communities is in their hands. In conclusion, I'd like to thank my wife Cindy and my family for all their support, because without their encouragement and their sacrifice, I wouldn't have been able to attend all the meetings and everything else I had to do, both politically and just with all the different activist groups that were required to get this done. Would like to thank my fellow town board members who were on the board at the time of the vote, Steve Stellick, David Makar, Joe Solomon, and Marianne Sumner, for having the courage to take the vote in favor of the ban in 2011. Some of you were at the meeting and saw the comments for and against, the threats of the imminent lawsuit, which led us here today. And also, I'd like to thank the Dryden voters who continue to support the ban. They also deserve thanks. While there's many others I'm not going to be able to name, I'd like to thank Hillary Lambert, Joe Wilson, Martha Ferger, Simon St. Laurent, Judy Pierpont, and the rest of DRAC for all their support and encouragement. And lastly, I'd like to thank our attorneys, Deborah Goldberg and Malin Perkins, for all their hard work on the case, without which we wouldn't be standing here today and celebrating. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Linda Levine. Linda is a Dryden Town Board member and had a lot to do with Earth Justice and Deborah Goldberg being our legal help in this case.
Today, we are officially deputized to be the active citizens that democracy requires. After today, local governments need not operate in the shadow of fear. Fear of frivolous lawsuits brought by billion-dollar corporations who sued or threatened to sue town boards for doing their job, for protecting the people who call that community home. We proudly call ours Dryden, New York. These corporations thought they would roll over a little bird called Dryden. This was cow country to them, and we were country bumpkins who would innocently go to the slaughter. They knew they had endless deep pockets, and we had none. So the threat of a lawsuit was powerful, until now. Today, New York law is clear. We, the people, can exercise our democratic right to local control. It's important to remember, though, that we had something they didn't count on. They were right for sure that we didn't have the money to match theirs in court battles. So their threat was powerful. Local boards didn't want to risk those costs. But what the industry misjudged is what we did have: the best lawyers and the best scientists that money couldn't buy. They hadn't figured on the volunteerism of brilliant lawyers and writers and scientists and all of us who have worked tirelessly pro bono to defend the homes, the people, the community of Dryden, and through Dryden, all of New York State. But the work doesn't end here. That's the bad news. There is already a conference plan for fall to help municipalities protect their citizens from the toxic collateral damage of fracking from neighboring states. Road damage, huge water withdrawals from our scenic rivers, toxic wastewater, pipelines, compression stations. There's work to do. So don't forget, it's the law. We will see the democratic process in towns across upstate New York working to keep out these toxic threats to the places we call home. My home for 45 years is called Dryden. All right.
Don Barber will speak next. Don is, as you know, town supervisor in the beautiful town of Caroline. And he has been an eloquent and wise and amazing leader on this for a very long time. And of course, we're here about the decision in Dryden, but the point is all of the towns here have been working together tirelessly, reaching across boundaries to share information and to make sure that this whole area and New York State is our protected. So Don, take it away.
Thank you, Hillary. The Court of Appeals ruling feels great to a local official who was told by the oil and gas industry that Environmental Conservation Law, Article 23, Section 0303, preempted local governments and their community's land use authority in a way that no other industry enjoys. While many of us were making plans to deal with the devil, called a local government toolbox, we were also working with our town boards, our town attorneys, a local group called TCOG, the Tompkins County Council of Local Governments, and Helen and David Slache, to see just how this preemption would play out. And then with that, we would develop our toolbox for local governments. Instead, we found that preemption did not exist. Despite oil and gas repeating it over and over again, and then louder and louder and louder, and then getting a chorus of businesses and landowners to join in, preemption would not become true. So our next task is to end yet another oil and gas falsehood, namely that natural gas is a bridge fuel.
Yay.
Yes. So natural gas adds carbon dioxide to the atmosphere, but more importantly adds methane to the atmosphere. This bridge is to an inhospitable climate that we are sentencing our children and grandchildren to navigate in order to survive. Climate change has become a climate crisis. Our response individually and collectively is our legacy. Thank you.
Now our final formal speaker before press questions is Barbara Lifton, Assemblywoman for right here, the New York State 125th District. Besides a lot of other work on fracking, she filed amicus briefs at every level in this court case, and she authored the local control bill and got it passed twice in the Assembly. So she is a legislative leader. Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I just want to start by offering congratulations and great thanks to all the residents of the town of Dryden and their very responsive town government. That's what we want: active, democratic thinking people talking to their governments, town level, state level, and we can see what good things happen when we trust in that democratic process. So congratulations to all of you. I also want to congratulate the Slotchies for all their great work and thank them. And I want to also thank my counsel, Jordan Lesser, who did all the research for my local control bill that put all this research in writing. About 5 years ago, I introduced the bill, and then Jordan, of course, helped as my attorney with the 3 amicus briefs in the court. So Jordan did tremendous work, and I want to thank him very, very much. And today I want to just say that, you know, I've made it very clear ever since I introduced that local control bill that this isn't the end, even though this is a good, happy day, that this does not signal a green lighting for the issuing of permits for hydrofracking in New York State, anywhere in New York State. I have authored a couple of letters to the governor, one talking about all the problems that still exist, a long list of very serious concerns that are an impediment to fracking that were not adequately addressed in the SGICE. And then last year, of course, I called along with I authored again a sign-on letter, 70 of my colleagues signed, saying we need a comprehensive health impact statement. There are very serious problems all over this country wherever fracking's happening, and so we call for that, not the phony health review that's been going on for the past year. Totally inadequate and unacceptable. So that's been my position all along. That continues to be the position. So while this is a happy day and we should pause and celebrate and be happy today, the fight will go on for these other important issues, and especially now we're focused on the health study issue. Very serious problems coming out of Pennsylvania. In one small hamlet, 300 to 400 people, they found 7 cases of neuroblastoma, pediatric brain cancer, in a very small hamlet. This is, needless to say, a life-threatening illness, and it's pediatric. Children are developing brain cancer in communities very close where fracking happened. So these are huge alerts to us, and I hope to the governor, to the DEC, that we must pause. The Assembly happily passed the 3-year moratorium that all you folks asked for, that calls again for that comprehensive health impact study, and that's our position, that's my position, and I know you folks are going to continue in the fight, as will I. Thank you all very, very much.
I think we'll let our speakers sort of hover here in the shade, but it's now time for the press to ask some good questions.
Okay, so, and then, for the standard, just curious, what are the implications after this got passed today? What are we seeing nationwide trends? You mentioned there's other issues in New York State still have to be dealt with.
Well, there are a lot of issues. I think many of us have heard that the world really is looking at New York State and what we're doing on hydrofracking. So this is just a red letter day for us, for our state, for our country, and for the world. This is the beginning of the end, I hope. I think we all believe of the fossil fuel industry. It's going to be, unfortunately, a slower, more painful death, perhaps, than we would like. The question is, are we going to have a hard landing or a soft landing here on climate change? And I hope we're going to move quickly and get to as soft a landing as possible as we can, going to renewable. But meanwhile, as I said, the worry here is that, we know we have towns and villages and that have not come out strongly, have not banned or put a moratorium on hydrofracking. And so obviously people are going to be helping residents there, but we need to keep pushing back at the state and say very clearly, if it's not safe for all New Yorkers, and we know right now there are many, many concerns, the majority of New Yorkers, certainly the majority of legislators, are saying this is not safe, hydrofracking is not safe in New York, and we're going to have to keep sending that message to the governor, to the DEC, and make it clear that we don't want to see any permits issued anywhere in the state of New York, including in that little sweet spot that they talk about, Broome County and to the east of that. So that's where it is right now, and we need to keep pushing for that comprehensive health assessment with the Senate. The Assembly passed it. We need to get the Senate, we need to get the governor aboard and say, absolutely, this needs to happen, and the Department of Health. So I think that's where some of the battle is right now. It's always a multi-pronged.
Well, I was thinking
battle.
maybe Don Barber could speak to the international and national. I was thinking of renewable energy and the hope that we have, the message we want to send with that renaissance here.
So one of the things that came up in our community as we were talking about a ban and saying no to the gas industry is it was important for us to be able to say yes, to be proactive. And last year we did a solarized Tompkins Southeast, which was very exciting and did over 4 times the number of houses that we thought we were able to get solar on. The community is ready and the people are ready to take on the fossil fuel industry and come up with their own alternative. They've had enough of being manipulated. And so that's why this is so exciting. The other point I wanted to bring up is about what's going to happen now with this ruling. There's been many municipalities around the state who have been threatened and have knuckled under the threat of being sued by the oil and gas industry if they passed a ban or a moratorium. Well, guess what? They've just been set free.
Yep.
I would just add that another set of implications is something I mentioned earlier, which is that the battle is not won when we have all of the waste coming from our neighboring states, Pennsylvania and Ohio. And the infrastructure build out, all of that is ahead of us to still be fighting hard with. And that's an implication that we have that democratic power at the local level.
Yes.
Yeah, to the point about how this, I guess, works nationally, New York, before this suit was settled today, was actually an anomaly. The gas industry operates all over the country with local control, and when they came to New York claiming that they can't operate that way, they were lying to us all. I think the court saw through that. It was a much simpler case than they would make it out to be. But now we enjoy the same freedoms as people in other states where they drill, such as Texas, Wyoming, parts of Colorado, and even Pennsylvania, which when their own state legislature went against the people and tried to take local control away, they were rebuffed by their own Court of Appeals. And now the folks in Pennsylvania do have that freedom again. So, but now the battle's political. And we've already shown we can win it here in the courts. And now we need to win it across the state politically, and we can do it. And we can do it even in the face of all the money coming from the industry. So.
Power to the people!
Yeah! And before we go on to the next question, let's send a message of hope to our friends on Seneca Lake who are fighting the proposal there to make the Watkins Glen area, that incomparably beautiful region, a gas processing and transport hub for the Northeast. This is a complicated fight we're in here, and we must not let that happen.
Right.
Another question, dear press.
Yes, so just to make it clear then, have you been contacted by other people throughout the nation as this decision just came through from the Court of Appeals today, either for or against? Or
I have not yet.
It's been a little quick, but as I said earlier, just before I got in the car and came down here, I got a query from a daily gas digest in Nebraska asking for copies of any information because they'd already seen a Reuters story about that. They were specifically interested in Jason Leifer's remarks, so that'll be interesting to see where that goes. And Jason, I think you've also had a query from the Washington Post.
Right.
Good start.
What about the New York Times?
So I think the other thing to add to that is that Helen and David have been consulted all the while by every place from Louisiana to Colorado and maybe South Africa, the Netherlands, any place else you want to volunteer, all along before this last moment of the last appeal.
And they are on vacation.
And they are on vacation, and they deserve their vacation.
And frankly, many of those people that are working on this around the country, they're just regular folks like all of us. And they're just going to look at, they're not necessarily going to call us and say, hey, congratulations. We'll probably get some emails, but they're going to be reading this court decision, and they're going to be working to mobilize their people. They're going to be digging into their work and feel heartened by what's happened here. So I think that's the main repercussion we're going to see in many, many places. They're too busy to call us, you know.
Any other formal questions? Where's Joe Wilson? Joe Wilson would like to kick off the public comment and general celebration. Are there any more questions? Well, I asked. Oh, I'm sorry. They didn't say. Just let it rip at this point. Okay?
Well, I want to rip on behalf of lawyers and other names that deserve some recognition for the work that was done, particularly in Dryden. First, to gather signatures on a petition that totaled finally 1,600 voters saying ban fracking now to our town board, and then call out the name of another good lawyer. First of all, with regard to those people that I didn't hear mentioned that I know gathered signatures and then fought the contentious fight over the next election as to who was going to remain on the town board. Peter Davies is one, and Marty Hatch is another, and Judy Pierpont is another, and Joanne and Deborah Cipolla Dennis, and I'm missing one that I had in the back of my head, and Marie McRae.
And Martha Ferguson.
Marie is a particular saint because she keeps all the rest of us contentious and loudmouth people together and going in one direction. And Martha Ferger. Martha Ferger at age 85 and beyond has been a constant worker, a petition signature gatherer, and voice of reason in Dryden. Now, as to the other good lawyer that needs mention, we did have a backup plan in case the town board split between those four and against the ban, changed to the wrong side, to the dark side, if you will. And that is a gentleman named Alan Knopf, who took it upon himself pro bono or for free to represent a small group of Dryden residents who filed briefs in each of these proceedings just in case something went, quote, wrong with the representation by the town. Then we had a backup. So thank you, Alan, sitting in Rochester as well.
Open mic. Go right ahead.
I formed an organization called Fleeced, which was formed an organization a bunch of years ago called Fleeced for people who signed gas leases before they knew anything about fracking, people who were lied to by the gas companies when they came door to door, and were really upset about the potential that there would be fracking in their communities. We went and became part of this door-to-door campaign, and I must say I was nervous about knocking on the doors of people I knew who'd signed leases. And what I found was these people understood that they were the ones at the greatest risk because it was going to be drilling on their property. And what we urged them was saying a local ban, a ban in the town, is the only thing that's going to protect you from having signed a bad lease, which all the leases that were signed were bad for the people who signed them. So we are thrilled that the people who signed leases and were upset about it are active in this fight, and we believe that this ruling is what's going to protect them, and we need to be sure that people who signed leases elsewhere in the state are not hoodwinked by the lies they're told about how much money they're going to make. We need to keep people from signing leases, but we also rejoice that at least in communities where it's been banned, those people are protected at this time. Thank you.
All right, so I'm Bill Podolka, and along with many other folks in the crowd today, I went petitioning in my own hometown of Caroline, asking for our town board to ban gas drilling at a time when the legal precedent wasn't yet set. And we certainly faced many people who said, you can't do that. What I want to tell you about is when we went petitioning and talked to people about this issue, we talked to person who was so downtrodden, who felt there's no way they could fight this huge industry, whose eyes lit up with joy at the thought that maybe their town board could do something. And so I want to thank the Slotchies and everyone else who's been involved in this, and the Court of Appeals for giving that hope to everyone across New York and America. So thank you, Court.
Hi, I'm Sarah Shafson. I've been involved in this fight for a long time. I actually would like to thank the Ithaca Journal for paying attention to this issue long before the big newspapers like the New York Times even showed a shred of interest. So Andy, you can thank your editors, and a shout out to the Ithaca Journal for their coverage.
I'm Carol Chalk. I'm from the Tompkins County Legislature, and I want to thank the entire legislature. I think of the 8 or 9 resolutions that we passed, 5 or 6 of them were unanimously, others with overwhelming support along the way, weighing in that we had heard from all of our residents that this was going to be bad for New York State and that we needed to stop and step back and question the process. I also want to thank a whole group of people who got involved in their own fields and researching fields that they didn't necessarily know anything about. And this includes bankers. I don't have permission to use their names necessarily, but people from Tompkins Trust Company and the Cornell Credit Union and the Alternatives Federal Credit Union came out and said, we're not so sure about the effect of leases on our industry and on our ability to continue granting mortgages. There were appraisers who came out and said, yes, this is what we're seeing. And there were farmers and there were other lawyers who came and joined us. There was also a group of people who came out and looked at appraisal issues and land valuation issues and weighed into New York State about the formula that the state was using to tax and the ways in which this gold mine that was supposed to be at the end of this sweet rainbow wasn't really there, making that case. So there are many, many people, and what the lesson for us was that everybody could do something and can continue to do something. So I will say that, there are people continuing to look at each piece of infrastructure that is being proposed. Certainly those in Watkins Glen have been mentioned. There's a group putting on a forum tonight at the Unitarian Church having to do with how can our community come together as a whole community without the biases that we started with. How can we come together and look at solutions to our very difficult and controversial power plant issue? Can we do that in ways that meet everybody's needs? That's from 7 to 9 tonight at the Unitarian Church. But the fight continues, and it really started with these folks from Dryden. So thank you to all of them.
I'd also like to thank the Cortland Standard that's here today. I'm a Cortland County girl, so they've done an awesome job on this issue, including coming out in opposition to fracking, the editorial board. So thank you to the Cortland Standard.
Hi, I'm Joanne Cipolla-Dennis. I'm one of the members of the Dryden Resource Awareness Coalition, and it's really a great and historical day in the Empire State today. We have waited years for this ruling. It says that the power of the voice of the people rules in this highest Supreme Court of the state of New York. And we set an example today. But this example is for us, but I think of how we got here, what it took to form DRAC and why we formed it. And we formed it because we started listening to people who had already suffered the sacrifice zone. And those people I do want to mention. The first person that I recall hearing, which was devastating to me and made me drive even further and further to get more information, was Dr. Thea Colburn in Colorado. Josh Fox did a number of things for the great state of New York and across the country with Gasland 1 and 2. Every person who starred in those films needs a thank you. We remember your voices, your faces, and the things that happened to you. We know that you are still going through that kind of pain. We call on the Honorable Governor Cuomo to not sacrifice one portion of New York State and to stop building out pipelines. This is an obsolete industry that we cannot afford, we will not accept, and we will not vote for you if you force it on Americans. And we in New York are saying to the rest of the country, we want you to follow suit because our nation is at risk. We cannot continue without clean water, clean air, and the ability to farm in our future. Fracking devastates all of those things, including tourism. Some of the other people that need to be thanked that I saw, Jessica Ernst from British Columbia, who came to New York twice. The people of Australia for speaking out, and Texas when we went, and to France who banned it nationally. They saw it beyond what we saw immediately. To Mr. Meeks and John Fenton in Wyoming, to Tim Ruggiero, to Sharon Wilson at Earthworks, Deborah Rogers from Texas, Jackie Boyd and Mary Patterson Thornfelt of North Dakota, Rebecca Roeder, Ron Gula, Victoria Schweitzer, Mr. Lipsky, Mr. Smitsky, Craig Stevens, Vera Scroggins, and all of the harmed of Pennsylvania. Rest in peace, Terry Greenwood, Chris Membaldi, and Judy Bonds, one of the great activists of Appalachia. Appalachia, we have heard your voice. To all the people who spoke in Canonsburg at the EPA hearing after the damages were done and said, where the hell are you people? Where have you been? We don't want that for the state of New York. We don't want that for any place in America. And that's why we ban drilling, because it isn't safe. It cannot be done safe, and we want an end to it. And the reason is, and I would like to quote Calvin Tillman, once you know, you cannot know. Andrew Cuomo, we know. We want a statewide ban right now. It is past time. It is past time, my friend. We elected you to lead New York and then prepare you for the presidency of the United States of America. You will not see a second term, my friend. You have not given us, you gave us your word that you would protect New York, and you have not. Pipelines are being laid, compressor stations are making people move out of Windsor and Minisink, and we are not going to tolerate this anymore. We need a statewide ban immediately. Thank you.
So just one last comment to tie in a number of things that have been said already. This was not about saying no. This is not about not in my backyard. That's not what this was about. This is about citizens of New York State, of Tompkins County, saying that we want to control our own future. We're not leaving it up to corporations that don't live here, that don't have CEOs or workers that live here. We want to control our own future, and that's what this is all about. That's why Solarize is so exciting. That's why this movement has gained so much momentum. It's because we want to control our future. This is what America's about. We are from an independent lineage. Yes. We will continue to do that. So thank you so much for coming.
I'm not from Dryden, but I'm a local. And I think I speak for a lot of people here, a lot of people around the country. I've been in communication with friends in the fracking movement in Colorado, who I'm sure are going to take inspiration from this. And what I'd like to do is present these flowers to everybody in DRAC. And there are too many of you people who've worked so hard. So I'm going to present them to Martha Ferger, our oldest warrior. Oh, one other thing. There's a lot of watermelon back there that's going to rot. Okay? So, chow down.
So we've got one more out-of-town visitor here who wants to speak, and then let's just sort of get in for him.
Hi, I'm Nedra Harvey from Rochester, which has the distinction of just repeating, or not repeating, just finalizing a third moratorium. Yeah. And now that it's, well, we're not happy about a third moratorium. It's the only major city in the state that hasn't enacted a ban. So we are delighted to have this in our arsenal. I don't know, we've been told there's too much of a backlog in the legal department's work, there's too much this or that and blah, 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 and we think they've just been waiting to see what was going to be handed down today. So, but on a more personal, local note, I grew up here, and I have been so proud of what you're doing. I grew up out in the country near Jacksonville, and when Anna Sears, who's hiding right now, who's also from Rochester, we met a few years ago, just about the time this was starting up, just happened to meet, both discovered we'd had ties to Ithaca, and it was Bill Paducah, the people in Caroline, and some people in Dryden who opened our eyes, and that's what started the movement in Rochester. Because nobody, you know, in Rochester, they think, oh, it's down there, it's not going to affect us. So anyway, thank you all for everything and for continuing to keep us going.
Well, we've probably all gotten enough sun and heat for the time being, so there's some great refreshments back here, and everybody just relax. Thank you very much for coming.
Thanks, Hillary.
Yep. Thank you, Hillary. Good job.